This video will show you how to replace the left front brake flex hose on a Pontiac Grand Prix. This will be located behind your front wheel. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. The first thing we have to do is safely raise and support the front end of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. After that, remove all 5 of your 19mm lug nuts and we can get the wheel off of here. Now that we have the wheel out of the way, we have a clear view of our front brakes. We're going to be paying attention along the caliper, more specifically along the backside for the bleeder screw. So as we look behind this area, we can see our bleeder screw and our bleeder screw cover. As far as that cover, just go ahead and remove it from the caliper bleeder screw. Now continuing on, we want to make sure we have a collection receptacle because there's going to be brake fluid in this area. I have a small tube here, so I'm using my 10mm for my bleeder screw. I'll insert my hose onto the bleeder screw. And now I'm going to be turning this counterclockwise. Now when I do this, I like to wait until I see a steady trickle of fluid making its way out so I know the bleeder screw is opened. Now I'm going to make my way inside of the passenger compartment. I'm going to press the brake pedal all the way down to the floor and hold it there with something such as a pry bar. While I do that, fluid will make its way out, but it's going to stop. Now as you can see, fluid did make its way out and it did stop as I said it would. I'm going to close that bleeder screw. Now at this point, fluid will not be making its way out through the brake flex hose as we continue on with our banjo bolt. Now as far as this banjo bolt, when we do go to remove it, as I mentioned, fluid should not be coming out of the flex hose, but you may find that some fluid does come out of the caliper. So with that said, I have a collection receptacle under this area. I'm using an 11mm for my banjo bolt. We'll separate the flex hose from the caliper. A thorough inspection of the caliper itself. This looks good, so we're going to follow the flex hose up towards its connection point on the body of the vehicle. Now looking in this area, I can see where my steel brake line leads into the flex hose. Before we start dislodging the flex hose from the bracket, let's start with our brake line fitting. I'm using a 13mm for this. We're going to be turning it counterclockwise. Something that I would note about this is once you do start loosening it, fluid will start coming out of the flex hose. Just be aware of that. We still have our collection receptacle. 13mm for this. A thorough inspection of the brake line and the brake line fitting to confirm that they are still reusable. This looks good, so I'm going to temporarily set it aside. We will be cleaning this a little bit prior to installation, but we'll continue on with the removal process of the flex hose. Typically, I do like to use some penetrant in this area. Now that I've done that, let's just have a look at the bracket where the flex hose goes down and through. We can see a metal clip down along the lower area. We're going to use an angled pick to pry this out of place. A thorough inspection of the clip to confirm it is still usable. We'll set it aside. Now typically the flex hose will slide up and out of position. If it's stuck in place, go ahead and tap on it with a hammer if necessary. There it is, friend. Prior to installing our brand new part, of course we want to do some cleaning and inspecting. So I'm starting up at the body of the vehicle. I want to clean my bracket. Of course, I do want to make sure nothing makes its way inside my braking system, so I'm using a gloved finger over the brake line port. Let's use a wire brush, we'll clean this up. Essentially, we just want to make sure it's not rotted, weak, or damaged. A little bit of rust is okay. Now, while I continue holding over the port on my brake line, I'm going to continue on with my wire brush. I want to try to clean up my brake line fitting. Just inspect that, make sure it's not damaged as well. Once you've confirmed both of these are in good usable order, make your way down to the caliper. After cleaning that, let's make our way down to the front brake caliper. Now, where we're paying attention to on this is where the flex hose would be. Pay close attention. If you see any of your pre-existing gasket, it has to be removed. We do not ever want to double gasket our flex hose. You will get a brake fluid leak. As far as cleaning this, I'm just going to give it a quick wipe with a clean rag. I want to try to make sure nothing falls inside of the brake caliper. There's no gasket there. Now it's time to install the brand new front brake flex hose. Now, if you were looking at the base of the front brake flex hose, you can see that it does have two locating tabs. There's a small locating tab on one side, and you're going to find you have a larger tab on the opposite side. If you were looking at the bracket on the vehicle, you're going to find areas for these to align with. We'll line it up, press it down, and continue on carefully installing our lines. Once we have it started on, we can pause with the brake line and reinstall our locking clip. Now we have our metal clip. We want to have it so the flatter side is facing towards the bracket and the side with the angled ends faces down. Line it up, press it in. If you find you have a hard time pressing it in by hand, you could use a small hammer and tap it into position. Let's give that flex hose a wiggle. We're attempting to remove it from the bracket. It should not slide out of place. It has to be secured. Now let's go ahead and tighten that brake line. Right there's where it felt as though it bottomed out. I'm switching to my flare end wrench so I do not strip this, but I do want to make sure it is tight. There should be no movement of that brake line in the brake flex hose. Of course, we will be reusing our banjo bolt. Pay attention to the base area of the banjo bolt, confirming there's no pre-existing gasket on that either. Looking at this one, I can see that I still have some of my crushed gasket on there. I have to remove it. Generally, I just use some pliers. I'll try to take hold of it and wiggle it out of position. You may have to use a small pocket screwdriver as a prying device, whatever's easiest for you. A thorough inspection of the banjo bolt here. This looks good. Now, as we make our way down to the caliper with the other portion of the flex hose, the next thing I always like to do is install one of my brand new gaskets onto my banjo bolt. Now we can take that and we'll slide it through our flex hose. With that slid through the flex hose, on the opposite side of the flex hose, our second brand new gasket. Now we have a new gasket on each side of that brake flex hose. Go ahead and start that into the brake caliper by hand. Once you have that started in by hand, we'll bottom it out and then I'm going to torque it to 30 foot-pounds. Got my torque wrench. There we are. Take hold of the flex hose, confirm it does not move around in any way compared to that caliper. At this point, we need to do a gravity bleed on the brake system. Make your way inside the passenger compartment and remove the brake pedal depressor. Now with that out of place, we're back at the caliper along the backside at our bleeder screw. We're going to complete our gravity bleed. So of course I have my collection receptacle under this area. I'm going to open up my 10mm headed bleeder screw and I'll wait till I see a steady trickle of fluid making its way out. Now I'm just waiting to make sure I don't see any air bubbles here. Once you feel as though you've removed as much air from in the system as possible, go ahead and close that bleeder screw. Now at this point, what you would want to do is make your way back up inside the passenger compartment. You want to make sure you pump up the brake pedal until it feels firm. Now assuming the brake pedal stays firm and does not feel soft and squishy, You should be able to just go ahead and clean up any mess and reinstall the bleeder screw cover. Now, if for some reason you did step on the brake pedal and it felt soft and squishy or went down towards the floor, you want to continue on with a manual brake bleed, which is what I'll show you at the end of this video. I'm just going to go ahead and clean this down and reinstall my bleeder screw cover. Let's reinstall our wheel. Start on all 5 of your 19mm lug nuts. Once you have them all started on, snug them up. We'll get the wheel back on the ground and then torque each lug nut to 100 foot-pounds. Now that I have the wheel back on the ground, I'm going to be torquing each one of my lug nuts to that 100 foot-pounds in a crisscross manner. Torqued. Take hold of the cap, turn it counterclockwise to remove it. A quick inspection. Looking at the cap, you can see exactly what type of fluid we will have to use. .3 brake fluid. We'll set that aside. Let's top it off with our brand new .3 or .4 brake fluid. We're going all the way up to the maximum line here. That looks good. The master cylinder is located under the hood, but you'll also have to make your way behind each one of your 4 wheels. Just a quick note about doing this job, you will want to have some clean .3 brake fluid and some parts cleaner. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. Now something that I want to mention real quick is we will have to bleed each one of our brakes located behind the wheels, so make sure you're in a safe area to do so. Once we've done that, let's start under the hood at the master cylinder. As far as the master cylinder is concerned, before we remove the cap, let's go ahead and clean around the area. I'm just going to use a clean rag for this, a quick wipe. We just want to make sure nothing makes its way inside the braking system. Take hold of the cap, turn it counterclockwise to remove it. A quick inspection. Looking at the cap, you can see exactly what type of fluid we will have to use. .3 brake fluid. We'll set that aside. Continuing on, we want to remove as much fluid from inside of the master cylinder reservoir as possible. Use a fluid extraction device. These can come in all different shapes and sizes. This is the one I'll be using. After removing all fluid from inside of the master cylinder reservoir, let's top it off with our brand new .3 or .4 brake fluid. We're going all the way up to the maximum line here. That looks good. Obviously, we will have to continuously top this off. This looks good for now. Let's continue on along the right rear wheel. So now when we bleed the brakes, of course we have all the wheels off of the vehicle. So we're starting the brake bleed at the passenger side rear or the right rear. Once we've completed that, we're going to have to go to the left front caliper, the driver's side front. Continuing on from there, of course, we need to make sure that we top off the master cylinder. We can never run it dry. After we've topped off that master cylinder, we're going to the driver's side rear or the left rear, and then we'll be finishing at the right front or the passenger side front. Completing all of that, it's time to top off the master cylinder at the end one last time. We're at the passenger side rear caliper. This is where we're starting the brake bleeding process. If you have a bleeder screw cover, go ahead and remove that. Now we will have to open up our bleeder screw. To bleed the brakes, this is going to be easiest if you have a second person inside of the vehicle. That person inside the vehicle is going to pump the brake pedal approximately 3 to 5 times slowly and hold it on the last pump. They're going to let me know. At that point, I'm going to carefully open up my bleeder screw with a collection receptacle in this area. I'm going to be watching the fluid making its way out of the system. We have to repeat this process until we see only clean brake fluid making its way out. Go ahead and pump that brake pedal, please. Go ahead and pump. Go ahead and pump. You can release, thank you. Now, as you saw, I had only clean brake fluid making its way out of the hose. There was a couple small air bubbles, but that's just what gets trapped in this particular hose. I feel confident that I fully bled this brake. I have only clean brake fluid making its way out. At this point, I'm going to make sure I remove my tools, clean any mess, and we'll continue on to the next wheel. Now that we bled the passenger side rear, let's make our way to the driver's side front caliper. So we're at the driver's side front caliper. If you have a bleeder screw cover, go ahead and remove that. Now we're going to bleed this brake in the same way. Of course, I do have my 10mm wrench for my bleeder screw, and I also have my collection receptacle. Go ahead and pump up that brake pedal, please. Go ahead and pump. Go ahead and pump. All right, you can release. Now, as you saw, I had only clean brake fluid making its way out through the caliper, and definitely no air bubbles. I'm going to go ahead and clean up my mess here, and we'll make our way to the master cylinder next. Let's top it off with our brand new .3 or .4 brake fluid. Now that I've topped off the master cylinder after the first two calipers, you're going to go to the driver's side rear caliper. Bleed that caliper the same way that you already saw me bleed the passenger side rear. After cleaning that, go to the passenger side front. Bleed the front caliper the same way you saw me bleed the driver's side front caliper. After completing both of those, everything's nice and clean. You're making your way back up to the master cylinder to top it off one last time.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.